Pete's with Fearless brand strategists, and one of the things that he's passionate about is trying to get people to understand their why or their core purpose. It's often talked about, but sometimes we're all just doing it because we're supposed to be doing it. And he's looking at this concept of purpose washing. So I'll introduce you to Pete, let him take it over and just talk us through it.
Thank you. Yeah, so for people who don't know me, what we focus on is research and brand strategy. Research, and the company's name is Fearless because we all need to be brave for various reasons. And I just want to echo what Robert said. Michael, thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. And the good thing was that you sort of ended on the note of transaction versus relationship, and this is very much in that space, in that vein. And so I was going to talk to you today about purpose washing or good washing, which seems to be popping up quite a lot, and you may well have some experience with this, where companies will just kind of say, I might create a nice little purpose and talk about that while I hide all the bad things that I do, all the plastic that I buy or all the stuff that I put into the ground or whatever it might be. So a definition, one definition is that it's very much in the same vein as greenwashing, you know, the misuse of purpose for commercial gain just because a company has a purpose statement or a link to their brand doesn't mean that they're actually living their purpose. And so today what I want to talk about is how smaller businesses can actually, because most smaller businesses will say, I'm too small for a purpose. And my argument today is going to be, that's not true. It starts with a small intent, and if you have an intention to do good, you can build on it. So that's kind of where we want to go. Oops, I've gone backwards, there you go. Another definition is tacking on purpose because it helps your marketing. And a lot of companies do this because what they want to do is sort of keep up with the Joneses and say, okay, let's see if there's something that I can do that will help my marketing or differentiate me. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go. I'm still going there. Right, so clearly what's happening is purpose is in a sea of sameness. Because if you haven't noticed, most companies are starting to talk about, oh, we need to talk about what good we do. And so almost all businesses are now looking to cash in on the rewards of supposedly doing good. So I'm going to ask you a question now. Are you a part of this purpose revolution? And what I want to do is to get everyone to sort of pair up, if we can, and just spend 2 minutes each on telling the other guy or the other person what your purpose is. And then what we'll do is after that, we'll get the other person to talk about your purpose, and we'll find out what they say. Thinking about articulating your purpose, what is it that you do? And if you have a room full of an accountant, and I apologise to anybody who's in that space, what we're talking about is not about what automatically is said, the purpose of the company is to make money. The purpose of the company is to create shareholder value. Think of it slightly differently. Think of everything other than making money. What's your purpose? What good do you do? Okay, so you've got 4 minutes. 2 minutes each. Please join up. Just describe your purpose. Pair up.
I think the theory is what you're saying is that if their purpose is clear, succinct, the person you've just told should be able to repeat it back. Right?
Correct.
That's the theory.
Okay. That's what I'm looking for. So have we got any volunteers? Does anybody want to tell me what the other person's purpose was? There's one. Oh.
So I talked to Richard, and his purpose was that his business makes my business, will be my business or your business's, payments faster and smarter.
Safer and smarter.
Safer and smarter.
Safer and smarter. There you go. There you go. Okay. That's kind of the most important thing that you do. It's an important thing that you do. Why do you do that?
Thanks very much, on the spot. Really enjoyed it. Why do we do that? Because we're absolutely passionate about making sure businesses can get optimisation.
Yes.
Which brings better cash flow to the business.
Yes.
And helps them make smarter and wiser decisions.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good.
Yeah, Rich, you get there.
Anyone else? Anyone else want to? There's one.
You can just yell it out from the back, guys. Honestly, that's okay.
I like it in front of the
Yeah,
Oh, you would.
we wanted to pick it up on the microphone. Yeah, go ahead.
Hit the roof.
Can't hear you over here. Can you
Yeah, okay.
Just chatting with Jeff then, his purpose is a lifetime of work in macroeconomics and what he's been able to understand, distill and articulate to people that have a profound shift, transition or adjustment in other people's businesses. So, an old saying that, give me the baby, not the labour. For Jeff, it's he wants the full 9-month term. But he,
Wonderful.
that's been his legacy and his life's work, and he can articulate it and in a succinct way that has a meaningful effect on people's business.
Absolutely, and I've heard Jeff speak many times, and it's financial literacy is what you're giving back, really, helping people to make better decisions, really, in a lot of cases. That's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? There's another one.
Speaking with Chris from Haystack Group.
Yes.
Found out he's more or less a connector or a creator of ideas. So we use a water bottle as an example. You come to him with an idea. How do I get it off the ground? I need assistance, whether it be funding, logistics, the whole lot.
Yes.
And he'll provide a plan and
Yes.
give you ideas of things that you haven't even thought of. About creating that idea, getting it to market, whether you want to launch it into a supermarket chain. He then threw something at us about whether or not it needs to be environmentally friendly or something like that. And just different things that he would put to you in the plan that you should consider. And then he'll connect you with those people. Won't necessarily provide the logistical advice for it, but he'll put you in contact with someone that can give you that advice.
Yes, yeah. And again, I would say that's probably the most important thing that Chris does, and we could probably narrow that down to even articulate that even clearly. The thing about purpose is most people will sort of say, here's what I do, but ultimately he's helping people make better decisions as well. And so how do you then bring that into something that maybe has something that can be a cause or something that can work with what he does? And we'll talk about some of that. So that's really interesting stuff. Anybody else want to go before? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Helen's been involved in her company for 35 years. She's now the managing director, and she was given an opportunity. She came in as a secretary and was given an opportunity to buy the company, and has brought it to where it is now. And her purpose is to give her employees an opportunity. And I thought that was really wonderful. I'm sure they really love working for you. And it's
that's great. Yeah, and actually that's a really interesting one. There are stories like that where people have come to take over a company, and they've seen that the biggest problem are the people who've worked really hard to get it to somewhere, and now it's gone broke. And so the new person who comes to take over, their purpose is actually to give these people back some livelihood and find a way. So that's really interesting. But we all want a world that is a better place, and we expect that brands can be a part of that solution. So it's not just our personal or consumer problem, but broader, global and cultural problems with transparency and accountability. That's what we're looking for. So,
what is sadism? I don't understand that word.
Say again?
Is it the source there, or sadism? Or sadism?
That's this one?
Sad advertising.
Sad advertising. I'll get back to this. What they do, you know how people purpose wash, people also do sad advertising. where, you know, it used to be about do something funny and memorable. Now what they do is they try and get a lump in your throat so that you're almost crying at the end of the ad, and that's how they try and get to you.
Family do that, don't they?
Say again? Smith family do it, but a lot of people do it.
And you know, Telstra had that wonderful ad for international phone calls that
Correct.
everybody cried, didn't it?
Yeah.
And Qantas did the same.
Yeah, yeah. Sad advertising. You can probably think of a few where you're sort of almost crying at the end of the ad, which is really interesting. So here's something. 72% of investors, it's a fun fact if you like, make decisions based on impact and vision. Now this is really interesting because the impact investor is coming up. So there's people with lots of money who are saying, what good am I doing? Is there an opportunity for me to do something better? You know, the money spent on purpose-driven brand strategy can truly have exponential returns. So are you a part of the next wave of change? And here's the point that I'm making is purpose is the new digital. Remember when digital suddenly appeared and the smart ones grabbed hold of digital and they turned their businesses digital, and they were ahead of the game for a while. Well, purpose is almost at a stage where, and we talk about how it's in the sea of sameness, everyone's now looking at this. This is the new way forward. Everyone's looking for a reason to do good. And that's great. So good is the new cool. It's a good way to go. Purpose-driven companies are winning at stock exchanges globally. So they're starting to make an impact. They're starting to really get somewhere, right? And again, this is about this authenticity and this genuine desire to do good that now separates them from the competition. So it's not just about saying that we do good. And it's not just about putting a label up there or saying that, oh, we have a purpose, so we must be really good. There's a lot of ramifications, cultural ramifications. Do you want to be employer of choice? Do you want people to come to you? And so I've got some more fun facts here coming up. And that is, are we reaching the new generation of socially conscious customers, consumers? And look at these, and there's an alarming number of statistics that point to purpose being a really powerful tool for your business. And that is that if you look at this generational divide, you know, Gen Z, who are now sort of 24, 25, the top end, so they're really coming at you. They're starting to get jobs. My son's 24, he's got a job at Bell Potter, and he's a activist, if you like. 92% of Gen Z and 90% of millennial respondents are saying that they acted in support of a purposeful brand. Versus now the Gen X, the baby boomers are up there. But we're still in the 70s, you know. And then the mature age group, they're all starting to go up. If you would have looked at these numbers earlier, they were much lower in that section. But just bear in mind that Gen Z and millennials are going to make up 70% of the workforce for the next 5 years, and they are looking to align with brands that do good. They want to work for brands that do good. So they're looking for that. They're looking for that help. And they're more likely, Gen Z are more likely to cite brands as having the power to make the world a better place. And the important point there is that Gen Z actually believe that it's incumbent on brands to make life better and to improve people's lives rather than government.
Exactly right, but I also think that they want other people to do it for them. They won't actually do it themselves.
Yes,
that's
yeah.
the big difference.
They're purpose washing.
They're purpose
Maybe.
How forgiving are they?
Say again?
How forgiving are they in their decision making? Because you've got, and a good example I like to use is Twiggy Forrest is going from a miner to hydrogen, but he's still mining.
Yeah, he's still mining, yeah.
But he's wanting to go into this hydrogen space.
Well,
he's wanting to capture all of this Gen Z and the millennials.
Look, it's interesting because at the end of the day, whilst Gen Z are expecting things to happen really quickly. The reality is it takes time. So we do work for Incitec Pivot Limited. And Incitec Pivot have, for a long time, and particularly their fertiliser business, has been for a long time a chemical fertiliser company. They're putting urea into the ground. It leaches into the rivers. If you like, farmers have a chemical addiction. And so, but also, when you talk to farmers, they want to leave a legacy. They don't want the land to be leached or burnt as a result of what they do, but they are running a business. So they're looking for ways in which they can continue to keep their yield up. Now, if you ask them to go organic, they'll laugh in your face. It's too expensive, right? There's no real reward for it because, when you talk to the dairy farmers, they say, well, these Gen Zs are still buying the cheapest milk they can buy. They're not worried about whether or not I'm using organic to grow my grass or whatever it might be. And at the end of the day, what happens is that they are... I've lost my train of thought, so I'm going to have to keep going. But, so Gen Z are looking for it to happen quicker. In the case of Incitec Pivot and their fertiliser business, what they've done is they've said, okay, we can't do this overnight. We've got to take small steps, and they move forward slowly. So what they've done is they've now started to invest in organic companies that they can blend and move the needle towards organic. So they have a company that they bought which is called Australian Biofert. And Australian Biofert basically uses torrefied chicken poo, chicken shit if I can say that, and they mix it with urea. And that blend is something that's going to do a better job. It helps farmers to continue to get the yield that they want, but they're starting to do better things. So the shift is chemical fertiliser company, shareholders saying we've always made money out of chemicals, why wouldn't we just keep doing that? And the answer is one day you might wake up and become Kodak. Or now what the management is saying, and when you read their latest prospectus, what they're saying is we are a soil health company, right? That's a major shift. Are they a soil health company today? Absolutely not. But they're moving there. They have an intention. And I think that's really where the power comes from. So is urea a bad thing? Not necessarily. These guys from Incitec Pivot are also the guys who are now supplying 90% of AdBlue for our diesel, and they're doing it through what they've done working with governments, supermarkets, to be able to sort of get that stuff going. So, sorry about going off on a bit of a tangent. So, brand marketing campaigns that champion a social issue are becoming commonplace as advertisers are looking for ways to create emotive, shareable content. And shareable content is where it's at. You need to find ways in which you can give good content. And these days, social sharing, as much as particularly media channels, it's what drives hearts and eyeballs. So how do you reach hearts? How do you get people? And then activist employees, these are people who are now coming to your organisation and saying to you, what good are you doing? So the ones that, these Gen Zs, these millennials are coming and saying, hey, I've looked at your CSR program. What good are you guys doing? What are you actually doing to create some good? So we've got a brand purpose bullshit meter here, or BS meter. Where do you sit on it? Because often when I ask people about purpose, and I ask CEOs about purpose, they say, oh, well, we're attempting to do good, we're giving to charity, we've got a CSR program, the government's telling us ESG, environmental social governance, we have to be there, we have to be good, and our partners have to be good. We have an intention to do good. We've got a brand purpose narrative, so we're talking about it, which I think is really important. And then genuine purpose, where is that? So sometimes companies start with purpose. So Tesla started with a sustainability mindset, and now they're the biggest car company in the world, right? They've done something that has changed the game. So going from saying, look, if you buy my product, I'll put some money into something, you know, I'll go your halves, versus starting with a genuine purpose, like say Patagonia did, where they said, look, you know, what we want to do is build the best product and cause no unnecessary harm. There's a difference. And you have to ask yourself honestly, where are you on this? And how can you get to where you need to go? So doing good is good for business. Here's another fun fact. You know, 15% more market share growth. Well-executed brand campaigns are 50% more likely to drive consumer acquisition. There's some interesting numbers that are coming out, and there's just tons of it. The more you look, the more you search for this, there's plenty of it. So, how are great companies harnessing the power of purpose? So here again, I'm going to ask you to get back into your pairs, and what I want to do is ask you to tell me, or tell each other first, when you were actually affected by a brand that had a purpose that actually affected you in one way or another. Either it captured your heart, your mind, or it made you buy something that you wouldn't ordinarily buy, or it made you think differently, right? Think of a brand that has done that for you, and then maybe just talk about how it made you feel, if you can. Again, it's a two-minute exercise. Can we, how are you going? All ready? Ready? Anybody want to share a brand story that that captured them?
Yeah, I
Sinneth.
For me, Thank You brand. You know the Thank You brand water?
Thank you, yes.
They start with World Region. So,
yes.
So they went to the third country. They see that most of people don't have a clean water.
Yes.
So they came in Australia, create the Thank You water.
Thank You water, yeah.
People now.
Yes, absolutely.
And now they are in Coles, Woolworths, and chemist warehouse selling the soap, hand sanitizer, things like that. So and what is good? So each bottle of water you have like a QR code, so you know that the bottle that is going to be that you buy is going to go each one country in Africa,
yes.
or in Cambodia.
Yes, yes.
And all the profit of the company go for back there.
Yeah.
And they start the company with World Vision. So that's it's a good story, and they're doing very well. Now they are in Woolworths, Coles.
Yes.
Yeah, and the price is almost double than the normal, but for me, I'm happy to.
You're happy to pay it. Yeah. I've got some statistics on that people are willing to pay, you know, 50% more for something that, particularly if it's local too, which is really interesting.
And it's made in Australia too, because you know now with the COVID, a lot of people change their way. Do we have to buy something from China? Do we have to, now with the transport, the thing, people think, it's better to be local, buy something local, create job in Australia.
Yeah.
So I think Thank You is a good brand.
Yeah, it's a great brand. It's a great brand. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It makes you feel good, definitely.
Yeah, it makes you good.
Anyone else got a story? Chris, tell me.
One of our group saw the Ford Ranger ad and bought a Ford Ranger.
Yes.
And felt guilty, so to offset all of that harmful emissions, has invested into his sister's company in kelp. That was making him feel better.
Yes.
Investing in kelp.
That's funny.
That back in the waterways would be good as an offset.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Who was that? Was that? Was that you, Andrew?
If anyone else wants to feel good and invest in his sister's kelp company.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What we can do is maybe put that on the video with your sister's company name. Anyone else? Anyone else? Jeff?
It's not directly related to your question, but I think there's lots of startups, unlisted equities today, that are companies that want to be great companies. And what they need to find is stakeholders that are willing to go the journey to support that purpose.
Yes.
So I think it's not just about great companies today, it's about people that want to be great companies
in the future.
So it's not easy being a great company, but the power of purpose gives you direction.
Yes.
And you attract stakeholders that want to be patient and take that and help support with lots of things, from dollars to sweat equity to
yes.
Just being involved.
Isn't that what ethical investing is like?
Oh, I think that's part of it. That's that impact investing that people want to get involved in
yes.
today. Put their money that they know that's going to have a positive,
a good effect,
social other type of impact. But I just think it's when we think of great companies harnessing today, you don't have to be a great company today to get the value out of having a great purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's going to give you better supporters, more patient capital, and a lot of other open up a lot of doors and growth opportunities.
Yeah, yeah.
And off the back of that, Pete, what I see, Jeff, is a lot of companies that we work with at the moment, they've got the investors, they've got the board, so they've got a lot of cheese, but they're running out of the people to actually do the running around and do the work. And so they're too busy having board meetings and trying to direct a business, but they're not actually doing what their business should be doing. So they missed out on the sweat equity to do that. And that's a great challenge.
Yeah. For CEOs, there's risk and vulnerability, because there have been CEOs that have been too focused on purpose and they've lost their jobs. Yeah. So, our profit and purpose should go hand in hand. That shouldn't be mutually exclusive. They should work together. So it's interesting, because it is sometimes for the long run. In Insotech Pivot, the example that we were talking about is they have for the longest time to work with farmers to get better solutions. That's what they've got to do. And so not only did they buy ABF, Australian Bioearth, they also bought Precision Ag, which tells the farmer exactly how much fertiliser to put in which part of the paddock. So they're starting to look at it, and then with Nutrient Advantage, which is their company, they're able to help them to analyse the soil and provide better solutions. But it takes time and it takes effort. And for Janine Johns, who's the CEO there, she's got a long-term situation, but she has the foresight to say we need to do better, and that's.
Do they look at carbon traders then, Pete?
Say again.
Do they look at carbon trading?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. Anyway, there's big companies that are doing it. I'm sure you've thought of a few in terms of, and you may well have had some things where you've seen how Lego does whatever, Tesla, Nike with their helping disabled athletes, all that sort of stuff. So it's there. More locally, there's a commercial real estate agency that I'm working with, who, when you've talked to all of their young people, they all go, well, we're here to make money. We're on commission. That's what we're about. But now they're starting to think, well, actually, there is something that we can do. We can help Melbourne to become a great place again. Maybe we can improve and make Melbourne better with some of the things that we do, like maybe getting homeless people off the street, or helping to provide spaces that people who might not necessarily be able to afford the rent, but maybe we create spaces, and with our management department and leasing department, we can find solutions that means smaller companies, artists, jewellers, whatever it is, can be in really great spaces in the CBD, and we can bring people back into the CBD. There's a small step towards purpose there that they could be doing it. So it's not always about that. But great companies radiate humanity. This is a Vogue cover for Vogue Korea. Radiating humanity, that's what Lego wanted to do. They wanted to find a way to create some humanness around what they do. There's all sorts of examples. Post-COVID, since the pandemic, 70% of those surveyed in this particular survey agreed that it was important or extremely important for brands to give back to their local community. So COVID made us just think a little bit more local. And so hence the AdBlue example was we couldn't get what we used to get from overseas, internationally. So Incitec Pivot, Coles, Woolies, and some of the petrol companies, there were all sorts of people who got involved, the government, they all got involved and they found a way, a solution to now provide 90% of our need for AdBlue so that trucks can continue to deliver to supermarkets. Another one was, 40% of respondents, and I think that should be a bigger number, but 40% of respondents stated that buying local food and drinks became more important during the pandemic. Results found that consumers will spend 50% more, like Senate, on products where portions of the profit are donated to local small businesses, which is great, a great opportunity for small businesses as well, in terms of if you're thinking about how do you develop purpose, and we'll just talk about that now. So all businesses must evolve, right? So that they're actually doing something good. It's just the trend, it's where we're headed. Yeah? It doesn't mean they have to forego profit. It means they have to be smart enough to make profit and do good at the same time, if that can happen. And it doesn't matter how small you are. You take small steps, you create an intention, and you build a belief system, then people start to join in. And it's whether you're in the HR business or whether you run, a small manufacturing business, whatever it is, if you can find a way of attaching a cause and thinking about attaching a cause, then you can do it. And if you go back to the bullshit meter, where are you? Are you doing some great, you're giving to the local footy club, you're giving to a local charity, or are you genuinely thinking about how can we do better? How can we create something around what we do every day when we come into work? We do something that is about improving an industry, and or improving a society or a community or the environment. And let's just make a point here. We don't all have to save the world. It can be small steps towards doing good. A lot of small businesses go, well, I can't be Patagonia. They want to save the earth, man. I can't be them. But a small business can still do things. So how do we do that? For me, it's about, a simple intention to do good, right? And so how can you articulate? How can you better articulate your purpose? Now, some of the things that we heard when people were describing purpose are very noble and they make a lot of sense. But actually, when you think about how you can create a new paradigm around your business, it's about finding some words that will actually create a belief system that people will hear and think, oh, this is good. So you need to articulate your purpose in order to stand out, in order to be able to actually explain what you want to do, to learn how to say it. And so why is our message more important than ever? Because Gen Z and millennials are coming. Their expectation is there. And they are going to ask you to do good things. So, strong narratives influenced by decisions. This is quite an old one. I would imagine it's, again, the number's probably gone up, but decision makers are 10% more likely to consider solutions from companies that the market feels connected to and understands. So, find ways of connecting to the market by doing good. So that's something to do. So, if you're not founded by a greater good, what can you do? My feeling is the Fitzroy's example, or the commercial real estate, I wasn't going to use their name, but anyway, Fitzroy's, who we work for, they are thinking about how can they do good for where they operate and what connects to a purpose or doing good or pieces of doing good. And so that's what I would suggest to you, is think about what you do and how you improve people's lives, or how you could maybe make people's lives better. Or is there something that your industry does that makes it difficult, makes life difficult for people who deal with you? What are the pain points? How can you address those? Can you build a purpose around that? And again, it's a skeptical audience. Have I convinced you that purpose is this important? Or are you going to go back and think, well, I still have to make money, so what am I going to do?
I think that's a good point, as we sort of listened even to some of the inputs. I guess it's a double-edged sword as a conversation, isn't it? Because
it is.
You really have to be genuine if you go down that path.
Correct.
Because even ESG, which is up in your BS meter, right up
there,
yeah. How many companies are just retrofitting what they do into the E, the S, and G, which is very transparent, right? So if you don't do it with the right intent, you will come through as non-genuine. And I actually think that's a big risk to brand.
Absolutely.
Particularly for some of the newer generations, Generation Zs, particularly, maybe even the Xs, right?
Yeah.
So it is a double-edged sword, and if you're going to do it for the right reason.
It's absolutely the point, is that if you purpose wash, you'll get found out. We live in a distracted but transparent world. You have to have a good message, but you have to also be genuine. Go ahead.
What about the pharmaceutical industry? I mean, obviously with the COVID and the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
Overtly, they're there to try and cure diseases
and
help people.
Yes.
And yet they have a very negative overall image.
Yes,
It's been quite polarising
Well,
why do you think that is?
Well, I think, they're seen to be taking advantage of situations. But I believe every brand has something in it that could be a good thing, right? And there are ways in which they can give back. And the pharmaceutical industry actually does a lot of good things. And if you are building stories around doing good things, there's some really interesting ways in which you can get that message out into the marketplace. So it's very, very important. It's a tough one. I'm not saying that purpose is easy. I think what you need to do is to get people together in your organisation and really involve them and figure out ways in which you can do good. It doesn't come from just one person saying, here's how we're going. It's about involving everyone. So I'll quickly go because I'm going to run out of time. My feeling is that you need to take small steps. Start to build towards it. Incitec Pivot is taking small steps towards becoming a soil health company. They're not there today, but they really have an intention. So pharmaceutical companies can do a similar thing, I'm sure. But it really, no one's perfect. No one is perfect. So it takes time and you need to make mistakes and you get there. So involve and engage your employees because that will give you a much more authentic relationship. If you're genuinely doing good, purpose is organic. People get excited about coming to work and they get excited about the good that they're doing and they find new ways of doing things and better. And that's where innovation can actually grow. You can they start thinking about how can we do things better. So our process focuses on brand purpose and values, and it sows the seed for culture, for a better culture, a purpose-driven culture. And I think what happens with us is we start with the words, but that's just the beginning of the story. Then what you need to do is you need to have the right people who are bringing it in. So, we also work for Accolade Wines, and their HR department is all about being the employer of choice. That's their focus. They're all about that. And so writing some words about purpose is exciting for them. They're implementing ways in which they can bring it to life. And, as I said at the start, we're about inspiring people, companies and brands to clearly articulate their message and purpose so that all the stakeholders, all the people who are involved, understand the intention and the cause. Next step, take the leap. Back to good washing. Consumers have grown tired of tack on. You can't just tack on a purpose. You've got to think it through. It has to be genuine and authentic. And never use a good cause to sell an average product. And rule number 1, make great product. Rule number 2, never break rule number 1. Be brave, be fearless. That's me.
Good on
Any
you,
questions?
Thank you. No time for